You've tuned in to the unavailing frequency. But don't touch that dial. We've got you right where we want you.
This is Welcome to Harrow, the town that isn't supposed to exist. This is account number 10, the final account, the integration. If you've read any of the first 9 accounts, you've watched the progression happen in real time. You've watched Harrow start as a clumsy diorama, a trap for tired drivers on a dirt road. You watched it learn how to lure us in, how to shut down our machines, how to build perfect copies of our bodies. The trooper in that last account thought the worst case scenario was the town manifesting itself on Interstate 80 to harvest us in bulk. But he was wrong. The harvest was not the end game. The harvest was just the recruitment. My name is David. I live in a quiet, manicured suburb in Omaha. 3 days ago, my fiance, Elena, was driving back from a work conference in Denver. She was taking I-80 east. At 2:30 a.m., she called me. She was frantic, saying traffic had dead stopped near mile marker 242. The electronics in her dashboard were sparking. There were people ripping the doors off cars ahead of her. Then the call dropped, completely dead static. I called the police. I called the highway patrol. I drove out there myself as the sun came up, but there was nothing. No pileup, no broken glass. The highway was completely clear. For 2 agonizing days, I thought she was dead. Then yesterday evening, I heard a car pull up into the driveway. I rushed to the front windows. It was Elena's car. I ran out the front door crying, and I threw my arms around her. And as she stepped out of the driver's seat, I buried my face in her neck, thanking God that she was safe. But the moment I touched her, the relief had vanished. It was replaced by a cold, primal terror that freezed me up. It seized my lungs. Her skin was room temperature. It felt heavy and dense, like thick silicone stretching over steel. And the smell, she didn't smell like her vanilla perfume or even the stale air of a long car ride. She smelled intensely of industrial bleach and cooked copper. "Elena?" I whispered, pulling back to look at her. "I have returned to the domicile," she said. Her voice sounded like it was coming from the air between us, not her throat. It was perfectly flat, a synthesized, emotionless drone. I stared at her face. It was Elena, down to the exact shade of her hazel eyes, the slight crook in her nose, but she had no pores. Her skin was a flawless matte surface. She didn't blink. She just stared directly at my forehead. Are you okay? What happened out there on the highway?" I stammered, backing up a step. "The transit was interrupted by a variable. The variable was neutralized," she stated. She didn't close her car door. She just turned and began to walk toward the house. I watched her walk up the driveway, my heart hammered against my ribs. Her head didn't bob. Her torso remained perfectly, rigidly level as she glided over the concrete, her legs moving in a flawless mechanical rhythm beneath her. Swish, swish, swish. She walked into the house and went straight into the kitchen. She stopped in front of the counter. "I require the sustenance," she said to the empty room, "to maintain the fleshly vessel." I slowly followed her inside, my hands shaking so violently. I had to clench them into fist. I remember reading these very forums. I remember the trucker in that second account talking about the diner. I remember the guy with the old Dodge talking about the silicone dummies. They aren't just taking us. They are replacing us. I opened the fridge and pulled out a slice of leftover pizza. I put it on a plate and slid it across the counter towards her. I needed to see what she would do. I needed to know for sure. She picked up the cold slice with 2 smooth fingers. She brought it to her lips and took a bite. Her jaw moved exactly up and down. Clack, clack, clack. Her teeth struck together with the heavy, hollow sound of dense plastic. She chewed, but her throat didn't move. She didn't swallow. She chewed up the mass of food just packed tightly into her cheeks, bulging her flawless skin outward. She turned her flat brown hazel eyes to me, the corners of her mouth pulled back horizontally, stretching her lips over her blindingly white teeth in a grotesque imitation of a smile. "The facial configuration for satisfaction," she droned. I backed out of the kitchen. I didn't say a word. I turned and ran for the front door. I needed to get to my car. I needed to get away from her, get to the police, tell someone that the things from the highway, they're infiltrating our homes. I threw open the front door and I sprinted down the driveway. I stepped onto the sidewalk and I stopped dead at the curb. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over my quiet suburban street. The streetlights flickered on, but they weren't the harsh white LED lights that our HOA had installed last year. They were pale, a bruised, sickly yellow. I looked at the asphalt on my street. Yesterday it had been gray, cracked, patched with tar. Now it was jet black. It was flawless. It absorbed the yellow light like a sponge, completely silent and perfectly smooth. I looked at the house across the street from mine. My neighbor, Mr. Henderson, was out watering his lawn. He was holding the hose, but there was no water coming out. He was just sweeping the dry hose back and forth over the grass, his head perfectly level. His face was entirely smooth. Down the block, a woman was walking a golden retriever, but the dog was moving with a stiff animatronic gait, its legs snapping up and down with rigid precision. The front door of my house clicked open. I turned around. Elena was standing on the porch. Behind her, standing in the shadows of my living room, were 3 men in suits and a woman in a floral dress. They'd been waiting in the house this entire time. "The biological template is attempting to flee," Elena announced to the street, her voice booming with mechanical reverb. Mr. Henderson stopped watering his lawn. The woman stopped walking the mechanical dog. Doors up and down the street began to open. Dozens of people stepped out into their porches. People I had known for years, people I had shared beers with. Every single one of them turned their heads to look at me. In perfect, terrifying unison, they all blinked. Submit to the formatting. The entire neighborhood changed. The sound was deafening. A massive choir of synthesized dead voices echoed under the yellow lights. "The town must grow. The town must grow. The town must grow." I'm writing this down from the locked cab of my truck. I managed to get inside, but the engine won't start. The dashboard is black. The EMP field is already active here. They're surrounding the truck now, their smooth hands pressing against the glass. They aren't trying to break it yet. They're just watching me. They're waiting for me to step out into the air. Harrow isn't a town in Nebraska anymore. It is a virus. They use the highway to harvest our templates, and now they're quietly inserting the duplicates back into the population. They're paving our neighborhoods while we sleep. They're changing our streetlights out. They're replacing our families. Look at your spouse. Look at your neighbors. Watch how they walk. Look at their eyes. Check if the street outside your house is suddenly a little too smooth, a little too dark, and a little too quiet. If they glide, if they don't bob their heads, if they smell like bleach, don't let them know that you know. Because once they see you for what you are, and once you see them for who they are, the diorama drops, and you become the next template.